Oh, so then you were in Super Bowl 49 against the Pats, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
ready?
I'm ready.
We're ready.
Oh my God! Please start. Please start with that. Please start with that. He's holding the Lombardi trophy. Okay,
I love it.
Please start. I'm gonna bring you in after about a minute. Please just be holding it. Oh, that's so freaking great. All right, you ready? Here you go. 3, 2. Before we get started, I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor, Proper Creative. They help me with our brand content and, of course, making our swag. They're the ones that ship it out to us. That's Proper Creative. And they work with any type of business, whether you're a big corporation or a small business or even running it out of your house. They will work with you and they will help you and relieve a ton of liability and work from your shoulders. That's Proper Creative. You can follow them on Instagram, PROPR, or you can go to their website at PROPRLLC.com. Let Proper Creative help you build your brand and sell direct to consumer, regardless of the size of your business. Proper Creative is definitely a good choice. Welcome to another week of Level Up with Matt Rogers. I am your host, Matt Rogers. With me, as always, my man Eli Adelman.
Yes, sir.
On the sticks, making us sound and look good. Engineer, You're the man.
Thanks, man.
You excited?
I'm very excited for today.
We always say we're excited.
I know. We have so many great guests, but this is a good one.
Our guests are the bomb, and we have a champion today at the highest level. My good friend, Golden Pat Ruel. He is a coach in the NFL and college for over 35 years. So if you're a player, if you are a leader, if you have a pulse, you're going to want to listen to today because you have one of the greatest leaders and motivators on the planet. Super Bowl champion, back-to-back Super Bowl appearances on this show that is going to give us everything on leadership, motivation, and everything. Let's bring him in. My good friend, Golden Pat Ruel. Look at him.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
And you're really holding the Lombardi trophy.
Yeah.
From Super Bowl 48.
Credibility.
Look at you. You smashed the Broncos. Peyton Manning couldn't do nothing against your defense. Oh, man.
I'm going to put it down now.
What was this? The score was 43-8.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching that Super Bowl. Obviously, we're friends, so I was a fan, and I was rooting for the Seahawks. But, dude, I have never seen a complete domination like that. It was absolutely so. Hey, welcome to Level Up,
Coach.
Coach.
What's amazing about that game? Some guy in Las Vegas put a $100 bet that the Seahawks would score first with a safety.
Are you serious?
Dude.
And he won like $1 million.
Oh man!
And that man is you.
I wish.
So this is Coach Golden Pat Ruel. I met Coach in 2005. I was an offensive line coach for Mission Viejo High School, the Diablos, and it was at a summer camp. I wanted to be a better coach. And Coach Ruel, you were with the USC Trojans, Reggie Bush, Lendell White, Matt Leinart. We know the legacy that you guys placed, arguably the greatest years in USC football history. You were there. I got an opportunity to come and be mentored by you at a summer camp, and we became friends, right?
Yes, we did. We became good friends. Yep.
You are the man. Thanks for having me on. So,
well, let me say this before we get started.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize you had some talent. You're a good communicator, and you loved coaching football. And I had a vision that I was going to make you into one of the greatest line coaches ever. And then you turned around and you left me.
Why didn't I
know
you
missed out.
Why didn't I freaking know this? This is the first time you've ever told me this. Are you being honest?
Is it too late?
Yeah. Listen, you had good communication skills. The kids loved you. And I said, this guy's going to be a great coach. And then you said, hey, Coach, I got this little gig with American Idol. Maybe we need to slow down on the coaching part for a minute so I can do this. And the rest is history. I mean,
that's so encouraging and disappointing at the same time. Because, like, can you imagine? Like, okay, think about this. If you would have taken me under your wings, this was 2005. I would have won national championships with you. I would have won Super Bowls with you. And I would probably have long, gorgeous hair like you, too.
The first two, possible, not the last one.
So tell me about, like, I want to start with you. I've had the opportunity to meet your family, your brother, when you guys played the Atlanta Falcons after I'd moved to Tennessee. It was a playoff game. You got me tickets. I sat with your family. Like, you got a tight-knit group. Like, you and your brother are close, and you are, like, you know, the golden boy in your family in every sense of the word. Your name, your real name is Golden, right?
Yes.
Where did that come from?
Well, this is an unbelievable story. First of all, my grandfather was Golden Rule. My dad was Golden Rule, and then I became Golden Rule III. And I just thought it was a family name or whatever. I never really asked much about it. And this is an unbelievable story. I'm at Green Bay, Wisconsin. Okay, so my family came over from Ireland, and they settled in Wisconsin. Okay, and so this Brett Favre and the offensive linemen are all saying to me, "Hey, coach, there's some woman over there. She is hot and she's beautiful, and you got to take it." And I knew right then, you know what? I'm not looking. Do you guys just worry about, coach? Let's worry about the football practice right now.
Uh-huh.
Brett comes over and says, "Coach, you got to give me her name." I'm sitting there going, "What the heck?" I turn around, and there's about an 85-year-old woman with my name on a sign, and she's got silver blue hair. she's holding up my name. And so I went up to her after practice, and I said, "Hey, what's up?" She says, "I'm your third cousin. Here's your family tree." She hands me my family tree, and she says, your great grandparents came over. John Ruel came over with Mary Golden. They were dating. Okay. They got married, and they named their first child Golden Rule, which would be my grandfather. Yeah. So she's filling me in. I had no idea how I got that name until I was 50 years old, coaching for the Green Bay Packers.
That was in 2001, 2002 as well.
Yeah,
so, I mean, this is before, 23andMe and,
Oh, yeah,
swab,
exactly. Yeah.
That's great. So did you end up keeping in contact with her after that?
Oh, yeah. Margaret Vyshevsky.
Wow.
Vyshevsky, yeah. She told me she was a third cousin. I said, okay. All the guys said, she just wants tickets, coach.
Yeah, seriously. Everyone just wants tickets. So, I mean, I have so many questions today on leadership of you. I mean, you have coached and you have succeeded at the highest level in college football and, of course, in pro football. You won Super Bowls with the Seattle Seahawks and back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. I guess I want to start with, let's just go with coaching. When did you know that your destiny, your calling was to be a coach?
Well, I just got finished playing at the University of Miami, and I had, I have a book coming out, which is going to be kind of cool. It's going to be kind of mapping my story. Mm-hmm. But when I was at the University of Miami, I had a really difficult time with the coaching there. It was back in the 60s and 70s, coaches were pretty physical and verbally abusive some.
Really? Was it Fran Kirky, right? Or Kirchy?
Yeah, Fran Kirky, yeah. They're trying to make us tough, they wanted to make us tough. And so that we had, we had all these drills that we did that were very combative. They weren't even football related. It was about making guys tough. And
give me an example. Give me an example.
Okay. We would go into I called it the panic room, but it's the insanity room. But anyway, we would go in this room. We'd get on our knees, and there'd be a towel that was taped at either end. And we put our hands on the towel. Yeah. I'd have one inside, one outside. My opponent would have one inside, one outside. And the idea was to get the towel away from your opponent. It had nothing to do with football. It was just a physical match of will, okay? And it got to the point where you could use whatever you had to do to get the towel away. So Guys were elbowing, trying to elbow. Guys were headbutting. A guy even bit a guy one time, and
gosh.
it was very primitive. It was wrong. It was a poor example of coaches trying to make players tough, because most guys are there. They were already pretty tough. They didn't need to do that. Anyway, the point is, when I got finished with that, I said, I don't want anything to do with football. I don't want anything to do with coaching. I was working on my degree in psychology. And so I moved on. And then Pete Elliott, who came down there and became the head coach, he told me, Pat, I want you to read the Dale Carnegie book.
Which one? How to Win Friends and Influence People?
That's it. The very original one. And I was like, why? He goes, well, you are already an example of that book. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you just have a good way about you. You're very positive. And he said, and just because of that, I want you to read that book, and then I want you to be on my staff. And I said, you're hiring me to be on your staff? And he goes,
wow.
Yeah. And so he hired me to be a graduate assistant, and I was that for about a year and a half. And then he moved up to the AD spot, hired Carl Silver. He made me offensive line coach. I was the youngest offensive line coach in the country at that time in Division I. And basically what motivated me to be a coach was I knew I could do it better than the previous coaches I had had. And I knew,
that's awesome.
There's a couple of things that kind of get you going as a coach. And one is to, have a common goal, and then all of a sudden you make it come true. And in 1970, 76, we had beaten, or maybe 73. I'm trying to remember now, it's way back, but we beat the University of Texas. They were number one. That was my first game as a coach.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So you're coaching for Miami, right?
Yeah.
So you're coaching for Miami. You take on Texas, the number one.
They were number one at the time, yeah.
And you took them down. What was the score?
20-13.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
crazy.
So was that by that time you're like, dude, this is it for me. I'm gonna did you want to be one of the best coaches?
I don't know if you understand, but just that the exhilaration of a group of men coming together with a common bond to take on a task that no one thinks you can do. Nobody believed that we could do that. And then when you do it, the exhilaration is so high. It's that's what I would like to say about retiring. When you retire, my highs will never be that high again. That great win over somebody that, whether it's a Super Bowl win or an in-season win over some that everybody thought you weren't good enough to win. But those moments are just, it's like the great shot in golf that keeps you coming back.
Yeah.
It's those moments they're so exhilarating. But by the same token, the lows are pretty low too. So we just have to deal with them. And part of our job as a coach is to bring us back to reality, but winning a Super Bowl and being involved in the national championship game. Even in high school, my team was voted national champion. And so I've been very lucky my whole life. I've been around either really good people and really good coaches. And so, when
you talk
if you look at my resume, mm-hmm. Matt, you can make one or two opinions. Either he's really, really bad and he can't keep a job, or he's really good and everybody wants to hire him.
So which is it? Which is it?
Well, I think for the sake of the show, let's go with the last one.
In 35 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different teams, but a handful of national championships, Super Bowls. Let me ask you this. You said, when things get low, when things get hard coaching, was there ever a time that you actually wanted to give up? Like, you're like, I made a wrong choice. I'm not a coach.
The only time that happened, Matt, was I was at the University of Kansas, and we had an extraordinary season. We had finished 9th in the country. We were 10-2. We had just and Coach Mason, the head coach, was recruited by the University of Georgia. He went to Georgia, announced that he was going, and I was the heir apparent to be the head coach. And he had a custody battle with his kids or whatever, so he didn't take the job. He turned around while we were at the Aloha Bowl. He announced he was going to come back and be the head coach the day of the game. So I lost that opportunity. And then a year later, I had the opportunity again, and it just wasn't the right time because we didn't have the momentum, number one. And number two, Coach Mason burned a lot of bridges. When he took that job to Georgia, he said, I'm finally at a school that's so beautiful and the hedges and, the football is so important and, it's going to be great. Well, when he came back, everybody remembered all those nice things he said about Georgia, so he was not exactly welcomed back,
Right.
So
that took you down like a different path. So has it always been in your heart to be a head coach?
I wanted to have a chance to implement my philosophy. And, I believe that good leaders are good listeners. I believe that good leaders have good vision and they create really good cultures. I think those three things, they got vision. They're obviously knowledgeable, but they got vision and they can create a good culture, and they are, they do it with kind of a good listening style. In other words, they're hearing their players when they talk, or they're hearing their constituents when they talk, and they're trying to do the best thing for them by being a good leader and creating a good culture. And I thought I could really, because I have a good way about myself as a person. I enjoy people. I enjoyed recruiting. I thought that I could bring compassion and discipline and leadership to any program. I felt I could do that. So
Absolutely.
That was one of the things I thought, well, I'll get my chance. When I didn't get my chance, I basically did the worst thing I did in my whole life. Was I said, that's it. I don't want to coach anymore. I don't want to worry about being a head coach. So I went into private business. We started this company called usathlete.com.
Mm-hmm. And
after 4 months of data entry, calling high school coaches and doing that kind of stuff, I said, this is not, for 21 years, I've been a coach. I've been around the camaraderie of the team and the camaraderie of the staff. I was like, no, I'm going back to coaching. And so I ended up going to Michigan State with Nick Saban. And, I didn't really pursue any head coaching jobs after that. I ended up going into the NFL right after that. And
that's what I was going to say. Because you could have been a head coach. you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
easily.
If I wanted to take a couple of Division I AA jobs, I might have been able to do that. But it was like wanting to be a pro coach. I had a couple of offers to go as a tight end coach or special teams coach. And I thought that was beneath me. It wasn't, but I thought it was. I thought I need more control of the offense. I need more control. And, coaching the offensive line, you're coaching 5 out of the 11 players. So a lot of the weight of that success falls on you. And so when they asked me to be a tight end coach or a special teams coach, I said, no, I do not want to do that. And then all of a sudden the Detroit Lions were the first team that came up to me and said, no, we want you to be the line coach. And so that's when I jumped into pro football.
So that's in 2000. Who's the head coach of the Lions at that time?
Bobby Ross.
So let me ask you this. So when you're recruiting at the college level, what are you looking for? Are you just looking for a great player? Like, how important is character? Is, family. Like, what are you looking for? Because you could get the best athlete with the most talent in the world, but if the kid's a knucklehead, you just made a bad investment, right?
Let me just say this: character is at a premium. I mean, we can coach all kinds of players, but when you coach guys with great character, you're building the structure of your team becomes very strong. When you coach and you have too many guys of not very good character on your team, it's a roller coaster ride. It is. It's an absolute roller coaster ride. And I've looked at my past and looked at some of the teams I've been on. The teams with the best character were the best performing teams, and sometimes not the most talented. Sometimes not the most talented.
Which was an example? What was your greatest character team?
Well, I was on a couple of teams that were, just had tremendous character. One, the first Super Bowl team, those kids cared nothing about the team. There was no individuality. There was no what about me and all that kind of stuff. Marshawn was playing for the team. Richard Sherman was playing for the team. It was what happened after that Super Bowl that started to break us down. And after the Super Bowl, what happens is you get so much attention, and there's so much fanfare and celebration about winning that guys started to forget what made us really good. Mm-hmm. What made us really, really good was we played for each other. We absolutely played for each other.
And that does not change regardless whether it's high school, college, or NFL. When you're playing for someone else on your team, it's the strongest thing you can do, right?
Right. It's such a strong bond. And remember that always, Matt, this is something I've always said. I said, never doubt your abilities, always critique your effort. We should never doubt your abilities, always critique your effort, because your effort is what defines you as a person.
Yeah.
It defines you. I'm going to say this. I did a clinic not too long ago, and the title of my clinic was Capturing Effort. And I asked the teachers, I said, what's the most important subject? It was full of, high school teachers and some college teachers. And I said, what's the most important subject that we teach? What if you had one subject to teach, what would it be? And, a bunch of them raised their hands and said, well, obviously English, you need English for writing skills and communication skills. And a couple of people raised their hands and said math, because, everything we do is centered around measurements and, statistics and things like that. So, and I said, well, I'm going to differ with all of you. I said, the most important subject we can teach is effort. Because if we can teach kids to give effort, and this is what coaches do our whole lives. We emphasize effort all the time. And if we can teach it, then this student who might not be good at math will be good enough, because what? He gives good effort. He might not be great at English, but he'll be good enough because he gives really good effort.
How do you teach effort? I didn't know you can do that.
Well, there's an old saying, Matt, you get what you emphasize. Okay. I've suggested that you list effort in a couple of different categories. One, bad effort. We all know what bad effort is. It doesn't need to be explained. Then there's average effort. Okay. So we have a category. One's bad, no effort at all. Two, average. There's no secret to average. It's just average is average. There's no secret to it. Okay. And then the next one would be good. That means it involves a little bit of passion. Mm. You have a little bit of passion about what you're doing. So this effort, I would describe that as good, means you're giving a little bit of passion. Excellent. Excellent effort would be the guy that wants to take 10 more reps after practice.
Yeah.
Because he wants to do 10 more reps of his math problems, or he wants to do 10 more reps. He's going the extra mile to be good at what he wants to be. Okay. He wants to perform well. Okay. And then there's the magical ridge line. And that would be elite effort. That's your Kobe Bryant. That's your guys that get to practice 20 minutes early, and they're working on something that they want to get better at. And then after practice, they're working on something they want to get better at. And then when they go home, they're thinking about, how do I get better at it? That's the Russell Wilson or the Peyton Manning or those kind of guys who just do all the extra work. They do all the extra work, and it's never, ever out of their mind. They're constantly trying to prove to everybody who they are. And it takes a lot. It takes a tremendous effort to do that. That's why I call it elite. So how do you teach it? I've been suggesting, hey, put a board up in your room and put effort, and then put the titles up there, and then say, hey, I thought you gave this effort today. Now you gave good effort today. Can you give me excellent effort tomorrow? Yeah, I'd like to see that. I want to see these guys move up the ladder. So what you're doing is you're trying to encourage, and by emphasizing it, you're encouraging them to give more effort. And it's not just effort for a single class. It's learning how to give effort all the time. And I think when I can make somebody feel good about what they're doing. See, this is where Pete Carroll kind of has he has a niche that's unlike a lot of coaches. He actually teaches the players to give good effort, but in the same token, he's making everything fun for them. So we all love competition, right?
Yep.
So that's one way he creates the effort. Okay, let's see who can win this drill. Okay, let's see who can do this. Let's see. He's challenging them to rise up their level of play. And then they start doing it together. That's when you have a great team. When you have this maximum effort by a lot of players is when your team just becomes exceptional.
I remember when you guys left SC, obviously on a high note, you guys were the cream of the crop in college football, and you went to Seattle. The big question was, do you think the college mentality and the environment and culture they created in SC can really be done in the NFL? And most people said no, because college players are different. They're playing for college or playing, but NFL players, they're just playing for the money. They don't care. But you guys did it.
Okay, I want to tell you. I always tell people, they say, what's the difference between coaching college and pros? I said, well, let me give you an example of my very first meeting in pro football. I walked up to the front of the room and I said, Ray Roberts, Mike Compton, they were the two veterans with the Detroit Lions on the offensive line. I said, you guys come on up front. And their heads went. They were shaking their heads. No? They were basically telling me no. And I said, what's the problem? I said, I'd like you to, you guys are going to lead this group. I'd like you to be up here in the leadership chairs. They said, Coach, we've been sitting back here for 4 years. These are our seats. We're not changing. So I turned my face into my whiteboard and thought about what my dad said about counting 10 before I snap.
I know, you got me on the edge of my seat right now. What'd you do?
Yeah. So all of a sudden it occurred to me, yelling is not a good thing. Yelling puts people on the defense. I need to be creative here. So I said, I got an idea.
Help
Let's
me,
see if I can get this done.
Please help me, because I'm a bad yeller. I yell at my kid. I yell all the time. It is a downfall, a weakness of me. Help me, Coach. What did you do?
Well, here's what I did. I turned around and I calmly walked all the way to the back of the room. And I said, this is now the front of the room. So just turn your chairs around. Everybody can keep the same seats.
Oh, I love it. That came to you in that moment?
They both shook their head. The rookies were laughing. Everybody was laughing. Those two guys shook their heads and said, all right, we'll move.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. So, I mean, how?
Well, my point is, if in college, I would have said, hey, you two guys up here, they would have ran up there.
Right.
They would have run up there, but it's the, pro football, you're dealing with men, you're dealing with guys who make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 million a year. And so it's, they're a little bit more harder to deal with sometimes.
Is it, I mean, for you, I'm trying to ask this question the right way because, I mean, you're the best at it. I was going to say, is it hard to coach men in the NFL? I've coached college at the JUCO level. I've been an assistant at, the D1 level, but grad assistants, you don't have too much clout with the players. They don't really take you that seriously. You listen more than you talk when you're a grad assistant, especially if
that's
you're
a good thing though. It's a good thing.
When I high school, I was all over it. Like those kids would run through a wall for me. In the NFL, how hard is it? How hard is it to motivate professional men?
Oh, well, we had a kid named Mike Williams when I was at Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo.
He was a stud, and he was from Texas. And he was a big man. He was every bit of 6'6", every bit of 330. He was a first-round draft choice. And so the Buffalo Bills organization said, hey, we need you to get this guy to play. He's not playing up to his like. And so when I came in there, that was one of the big things. Get this guy to be And so I noticed that he was an up and down guy. One game he'd be okay, and next game not. And I kept trying to figure out ways to get him motivated. One day I walked in and I said, oh my God, you guys can't believe it. I said, there's this huge fight in the New England locker room between a couple of their defensive linemen. And they're all like listening intently. Oh my God, we haven't heard this. Tell us more. And I said, well, they just started duking it out. And, we play them next week. And they found out the whole argument was about who gets to line up on Mike Williams. I said it right in front of her.
No way.
He played one of his best games that week.
That is genius.
I was thinking of every possible way I could motivate this guy because he's just one of those guys who played good and he relaxed. I think the best players, the very best players, one we always describe as character, but the best players are constantly trying to show you who they are. They're trying to show that they want to prove to you that there's something special. And this is, what we were always telling them, hey, show us who you are. And, a lot of that just involves great effort. I mean, that's all it involves. You don't have to be anything more special than just be you and bring great effort. And that's always going to be good enough. Have you ever watched the Olympics? Mm-hmm. And they go, all right, we're coming to the finals for the marathon. And here they come. Here, and the guy runs across and everybody's cheering. Oh my God, he's just been running for 26 miles and then they kind of slow clap and then they all sit down. And then all of a sudden they're all back up on their feet because the last guy is coming through and they're all clapping for him. And I told my dad, I said, what? Why are they clapping for him? He's dead last. My dad said, he finished. Hmm. He was trying to say, hey, he didn't quit. He had a chance to quit. He didn't quit. He finished. He said, there are other guys who probably quit. And I thought about that. Hey, it's just about giving effort. That's all. We respect that so much.
Who's the best player you've ever coached? If you had to pick one that was on a team, maybe you didn't directly coach him. Maybe he wasn't an offensive lineman. Maybe he was a quarterback, a DB. The one person you say that guy had it, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a hard question because there's a lot of extraordinary players.
Then maybe you can list a handful, and then I'll ask you, what did they have that the other players didn't? Because the answer is usually not talent.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Unique. I would say just being unique. Russell Wilson was unique.
Yep.
Because there's not a day that goes by or a minute that goes by that he's not thinking about something he has to do to get better. And so that's a uniqueness. And he performs well. And when he doesn't perform well, it's because he's trying too hard. He kind of breaks his disciplines a little bit and tries too hard. I'm trying to think, there's some guys like Max Unger, who was a center for us, was such a detailed guy. Jeff Hardings, who I coached at Detroit Lions, who went on to be an all-pro center with Pittsburgh Steelers. These guys, the guys that I bring up are unique because it was so important to them to be good. It was just so important. And some guys get into an environment and they exist in the environment. Other people go into an environment and they want to be the centerpiece of the environment. And that's those kind of guys, Russell Wilson, Brett Favre was that way. Brett Favre, I love the guy because he was a guy's guy, number one, and he got along well with all the guys on the team, and he was extraordinary. He made the team feel like, hey, don't worry, we're going to be okay. We can do this,
right.
And that's what the great ones do. They just give you that because they are that way. It gives everybody confidence, that you can be something. Matter of fact, I've told people this for a long time. The NFL is just a quarterback-driven league, and I said I can tell you. You want to pick out the 8 playoff, the guys, the last 8 teams in the playoff. I can pick them out right now. Russell Wilson will be one. So everywhere that they have a good quarterback, really good quarterback. Drew Brees, you can count on him being there. Of course, he's retiring, but you start looking at the best quarterbacks in the league. And you just go, they'll all be there. And why is that? Is it that one guy's talent drives the team? Yeah. That one guy's talent brings everybody else's play up.
It's so crazy to hear you say that because we're going to have Bruce Arians on the show as well. And one thing I never thought about, it's like, I always thought, and I want to choose my words carefully because I don't, if I ever do talk to Bill Belichick, he's the GOAT, right? He's the greatest of all time, arguably, right? But he didn't make it this year, and Tom did. You could always count on Tom.
That's true,
right? Yeah. And I'm saying that to Eli because Eli's like the biggest Patriot fan, so you know what question's coming soon, Coach.
Well, have you ever heard that saying? Hey, we'll rise to the occasion. Hey, We're all going to rise. We'll rise to the occasion.
Yep.
That's kind of a false statement. Here's what you only rise to the level of your training. That's you rise to the level of your training. Okay, so we're kind of leveling up here, if you know what I mean.
Hell yeah. This is why I wanted you on the show. You're a genius. Let me go the opposite direction real quick. And of course you don't have to say any names, but thinking about some of the worst players you ever coached, what made them the worst? Why were they bad players? Why were they bad leaders?
Selfishness. I could say I can give you an example. One player would be great one day, or 1 year, he was great. And the next year he's not. Well, why was that? Well, I can always usually point to selfishness. He all of a sudden thought he was bigger than the team. What he wanted to do was all of a sudden the most important thing. It was no longer the team. And this is what I'm talking about when you go to a Super Bowl and you experience success. The hardest thing is to get that team refocused back into the things that made the team great. And that's being a team, playing for each other, giving great effort. The lack of selfishness, is what Bill Belichick has been able to do, the GOAT,
right?
Is what he's been able to do is to eliminate, personalities and, guys who want to be the stars and all that stuff. He's been able to eliminate that. Everybody's he always says, you got a job to do it. He puts it on a level of, hey, a factory. You're in a factory, you got to produce, and that's the only way this thing works. And he's very successful. Coach Carroll, on the other hand, is more communicative, he's a lot better listener than Bill, and he's a guy that just tries to make the team so healthy in terms of how they feel that they will go out and give good effort no matter what. And what happened was we went to the Super Bowl. The second Super Bowl goal, we were already having factions on the team that they were upset that they weren't getting the recognition some of the other guys got. It became a little pettiness got in there.
How do you nip that in the bud? Like, how do you address that?
Well, coach Belichick likes to do it by, I'll trade the first guy that's talking about it. I'll just trade him off to a different team.
Right.
That's how he handles it. Coach believes that it is his job as a coach, more important than winning. His job as a coach is to have maximum influence on that individual and help him see the ways that he's doing it are wrong. Hey, you got to see why you're doing this wrong, and I'm going to show you why it doesn't fit in the team concept. And so he's constantly trying to teach all the time. He's either teaching them about a little bit about politics, or he's teaching a little bit about the environment, or he's teaching a little bit about, character, but he is constantly teaching, and he just doesn't want to fail anybody. See, some guys will just say, okay, he's hurting us, so I don't care about him, I'm gonna get rid of him. Coach is not like that. Coach is, that's the last resort for him, the absolute last resort. So that's the dichotomy between the two. One's a very disciplined, not very communicative guy, but he has a really good method. He demands good character, demands it, and he demands his team follow his method the whole way. Coach Carroll is going to give you freedom to be an individual as long as it's within the confines of the team, and he wants you to always remember that he had 3 rules, which, you think about it, always protect the team. Rule number 1. Rule number 2, no whining, no complaining, no excuses. And rule number 3, be early. And what those rules were for the team was, have character. We're Seahawks 24/7. So have the character to do the right things. Don't ever embarrass your teammate. Okay. Give good effort. Always protect the team. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 was about our language. We don't want to be problem creators. We don't want to be complainers and whiners. So we say, no whining, no complaining, no excuses. So that, and it's great, Matt, because what will happen is, as we teach them these rules, some guy will say, well, I don't really want to do this. And other guys will flip, hey, you're a number 2 violator. They're keeping each other in check.
That's awesome.
And so what happens is you've created this culture that's a fun culture, because you don't have people whining, complaining, or making excuses. And you have people that are trying to be problem solvers, or, they're trying to keep the environment in a very healthy environment. And so, I just appreciate, I've worked for listen, when you work for Nick Saban, Jackie Sherrill, Pete Carroll, Tom Coughlin, I started thinking about all these guys, Mike Sherman. You find out that there's some guys that are really, really good at creating a good culture, and there's guys that aren't. And it's not the culture that necessarily wins. It's how the organization puts itself together. And like, for example, when guys from New England would come to the Seahawks, they go, oh my God, I like it here so much better. Well, they liked it because it's a freer atmosphere. You can be yourself more with Pete Carroll. When I was at Buffalo Bills, Lawyer Malloy got traded with Drew Bledsoe to Buffalo from the New England Patriots. And I said to Lawyer, I said, why did you get traded? Why do you think you got traded here? And he went like this. He put his hand up and he went like this. I said, what's that? He goes, I was talking too much in the locker room. I was complaining about things, and so he shut me out. And I wow, you know, and
Yeah.
that was kind of like blew me away. But if somebody's doing that in Seattle, coach is going to bring him in his office and talk to him about, all right, what's the issue here? How can we fix this?
And it's crazy because, like, yeah, it's like neither one's, you know, maybe right or wrong because both of them have been proven to be successful. It's just different culture, different philosophy. So let me ask you this to put a bow on this before we let you go. I have to ask this. This is for my boy Eli. Wanted me to ask this too. So, you smashed the Broncos in Super Bowl 48. You're back in the Super Bowl 49 against the Patriots, and you guys have the game. I mean, you really kind of dominated that game, and at the very end, you got the best running back in the league, Marshawn Lynch. It's second down. You're on I think like the 2-yard line. Everyone knows the ball's going to Marshawn, and that's when you did the infamous pass play where Malcolm Butler picked it, gave him a name. That's no one knew who Malcolm Butler was before that interception in the Super Bowl.
I still don't know who he is. I don't know.
Why? I gotta ask. Why didn't you run the football? It's second down. I need to know. I need to know.
I don't know whether Coach Carroll knew this, but because Coach Carroll's he's a defensive coach by heart, and so he knows. And we later found out that the statistics of being second down and goal at the 1-yard line is that you really, really hard to score running the ball. I mean, it's hard because you got to think how they think. They're thinking, hey, they're going to run the ball and we got to smash them in the backfield. So they fire their corners and try to lock their outside backers on your tight end and cover the guy. But they're trying to create a negative play, or they'll dive a linebacker over the top and try to hit you, just whatever. But the point is we felt it would be better to throw the ball because they were anticipating us running it. Okay. The whole thing was that if we could do it all over again, we probably would have called more of a play action pass, which would have,
right.
Fullback had been wide open in the flat, or the tight end had been wide open in the corner. But we didn't do that. We had a little kind of a pick play. I don't want to call it pick play, but it's a rub. Where one guy pushes another DB back, and the other guy comes up underneath him, and we didn't execute it quite right. But here's the thing: that was funny. A guy called Darrell Bevel, who was our offensive coordinator, while we were on the bus, and he was an NFL statistician. And he said, "I want you to know, Darrell, don't feel bad about all this." He said, I looked at second one, and there were 17 snaps in the NFL that year on the goal line, second one, in that situation, towards the end of whatever. And he said, 9 teams ran it, 8 teams threw it. 9 teams that ran it, nobody scored. They all got hit in the backfield or hit at the line of scrimmage. They didn't get it in. He said, of the 8 teams that threw it, 7 teams scored touchdowns. 1 team threw an interception. And Darrell goes, "Who threw the interception?"
Oh, man, what a great story. Coach Ruel, I love you, man. Thank you so much for coming on Level Up. You are my friend. You are my mentor. And you don't know this about him, Eli, but if you ever need a good joke, you call Pat Ruel. His jokes are on time, baby. Coach, I love you. Thank you so much.
Love you too.
And when's the book coming out?
Should be out in December. I'm hoping to get it out by Christmas. And it's called An Attitude of Gratitude, an NFL coach's story.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah.
An Attitude of Gratitude. Make sure you have it. And I would be eternally grateful to you if you subscribed, and shared this podcast with your family, friends, and Seattle Seahawks fans. right here. Share it. Get this out. We appreciate you so much when you rate us. Obviously, give us a 5-star rating. That's how the algorithm works and that we grow. So thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and share. Level Up this week with Pat Ruel. We love you so much, Coach. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for tuning in to another week of Level Up.
All right, level up, baby.